This is the case of Mary Flora Bell, the 11-year-old British serial killer. Mary Flora Bell was born on May 26, 1957, in Newcastle upon Tyne, a city in northeastern England known for its working-class roots and industrial history. From the moment of her birth, Mary's life was marred by instability. Her mother, Betty, was only 15 years old at the time and worked as a sex worker. Reports suggest that when Mary was born, Betty was so emotionally detached that she told doctors to "take that thing away from me," a statement that would come to symbolize the neglect and emotional cruelty Mary would endure throughout her childhood. Mary's upbringing took place in Scotswood, a rundown and impoverished neighborhood plagued by crime, unemployment, and a general lack of community resources. The environment was grim and unforgiving, especially for a vulnerable child. Betty was frequently absent from home, allegedly traveling for work-related reasons, leaving Mary in the care of relatives or even alone. These absences, paradoxically, offered Mary temporary reprieve from her mother's erratic and abusive behavior. Multiple sources have claimed that Betty tried to kill Mary on more than one occasion, disguising her attempts as accidents. For instance, Mary once fell from a high window under suspicious circumstances. On another occasion, she nearly died from an overdose of sleeping pills. While these events were brushed off at the time, later psychological evaluations would suggest they were not accidental. Mary was also reportedly subjected to sexual abuse from a very young age. Some accounts claim Betty prostituted her daughter to adult men starting when Mary was just 4 years old. Though these claims remain uncorroborated by other family members, the psychological impact on Mary was evident in her later behavior. Mary's early behavior was marked by signs often associated with severe psychological disturbance. Teachers and classmates described her as manipulative, compulsively lying, and unusually cruel to animals. On multiple occasions, Mary was seen attempting to harm small animals, a troubling indicator often linked to future violent tendencies. Additionally, Mary had a fascination with death. She would frequently speak about people dying and even asked one of her teachers if they had seen someone die. These behaviors, combined with her erratic mood swings and defiant attitude, painted a picture of a deeply troubled child. On May 25, 1968, the day before Mary's 11th birthday, she committed her first known act of murder. Her victim was 4-year-old Martin Brown. The killing occurred in an abandoned house in Scotswood. Martin was found without any visible signs of trauma, leading police to initially rule the death as accidental. Despite this, several pieces of evidence indicated that something more sinister had occurred. Mary had been seen playing with Martin shortly before his death, and she later tried to convince his grieving mother that she had seen the incident. Her demeanor was oddly calm, even excited when talking about Martin's death. In the days following the murder, Mary exhibited increasingly disturbing behavior. Alongside her friend Norma Bell, no relation, she broke into a nursery school and left behind notes claiming responsibility for the killing. The notes were dismissed by the police as a childish prank. On July 31, 1968, Mary Bell struck again. This time the victim was 3-year-old Brian Howe. Unlike Martin's case, Brian's body showed unmistakable signs of violence. He had been strangled, and his body had been mutilated post-mortem. Hair had been cut from his head, scratches covered his thighs, and most chillingly, the letter M had been carved into his stomach. Police launched a full investigation and began to question local children. Mary's behavior during this time was suspicious. She showed an unusual interest in the investigation and asked probing questions about how much the police knew. Witnesses also saw her with Brian shortly before his disappearance. During questioning, both Mary and Norma gave conflicting and inconsistent statements. Eventually, Mary confessed to the murder, but tried to place most of the blame on Norma. Norma, in turn, accused Mary. Police determined that Mary was the main aggressor and the true architect of both murders. The trial began in December 1968. It quickly became a media sensation due to the age of the defendant and the gruesome nature of the crimes. Mary, now 11 years old, displayed a chilling composure throughout the proceedings, while Norma broke down and appeared emotionally overwhelmed. Psychiatric evaluations presented during the trial described Mary as suffering from a psychopathic personality disorder. She exhibited signs of lacking empathy, manipulativeness, and an inability to form genuine emotional connections. Her intellectual capacity, however, was found to be within normal range. On December 17, 1968, Mary Bell was found guilty of manslaughter due to diminished responsibility. Norma Bell was acquitted. Mary was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, a form of indefinite sentence used for juvenile offenders. Mary was initially placed in a secure children's home and later transferred to various institutions over the years. Despite her young age, she often found herself isolated from other inmates due to the nature of her crimes. In 1977, she made headlines again when she escaped from Moore Court, a low-security facility. She spent the Yahya night with two young men before being recaptured the next day. Although the incident raised concerns, authorities still considered her rehabilitation possible. Mary was released from custody in 1980 at the age of 23. She had served approximately 12 years. Upon her release, Mary was given a new identity to protect her from public outrage and media attention. She started a new life, keeping a low profile and eventually finding employment, including a job at a school cafeteria. In 1984, she gave birth to a daughter. For many years, Mary's daughter was unaware of her mother's past. This changed when reporters discovered Mary's new identity and published it, leading to a media frenzy. Mary and her daughter went into hiding once again. In 1998, journalist Gita Sereni published Cries Unheard: The Story of Mary Bell, a book based on interviews with Mary herself. The book stirred intense public debate, particularly because Mary reportedly received around $50,000 for her cooperation. Many felt it was unjust for a convicted killer to profit from her crimes, while others argued that understanding her story was vital for preventing future tragedies. In 2003, the High Court of the United Kingdom issued a landmark ruling granting Mary and her daughter lifelong anonymity. This became known as the Mary Bell Order. It was the first time such a measure extended beyond a criminal to include their family members. Mary became a grandmother in 2009. Her current location remains undisclosed, though she is believed to still live in the UK under a protected identity.